We are here today to announce that the Justice Department has secured felony guilty pleas from the world's largest cryptocurrency exchange, Binance.
Actually, it's Binance.
Binance.
Binance. Largest virtual.
Binance.
Binance. And let me be clear. It's Binance.
Binance.
Binance. Council has discussed crypto regulations and legislations at length, and we have come to the conclusion that instead of regulating, we are going to ape a fat bag each into laptop and pump it to over $1,300,000,000,000,000,000,000,000 market cap. Let's fucking go, crackheads.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Crypto Morning Coffee. I got my coffee locked and loaded, ready to go, because we have to talk about the trillions of dollars that are going to flow into the market. And obviously, this is the first time that we have Janet Yellen not only in the intro but also on the thumbnail. I think so, at least. So I'm very excited to talk to you about this and obviously how this is going to influence crypto. Also, we have a very, very big event today that could shake up the markets a little bit, could bring some volatility, doesn't have to, but could be. And also, we're going to talk about Avalanche because there is some news about Avalanche, and obviously we are going to talk about Ecomi and Veve, couple of tweets that I found, couple of information that is coming out through the responses of some team members to those tweets. And so make sure to stay all the way through. So, good morning to each and every one of you. I see that there are some people here. By the way, guy, it's the freaking Friday. So, the week is ending, the weekend is in front of us, and the mere fact that we celebrate this is just also a sign for what we have to do, and that is free ourselves from such a work routine by hopefully crypto. I am not there yet, which is why this channel is like something like a documentary of the journey plus educational content. So let's see here. Trucking Hank is here. GM first, obviously. Trucking Hank is first. Jonas also. Good morning. Hey Jonas, what is going on? Nice to see you here in the chat. And Jasper Frank also. Hello. And we have Booth here. We are live. It's Binance. Absolutely, it's Binance. There is no doubt about it. And Binance is going to be back as CZ is released from jail. So we will have I would say CZ basically in the bear market he saved crypto with his takeover of all the of all the bankrupt corpses, so to say, that are lying around. So that is definitely a thing. But let's talk about crypto here. So make sure to smash up the like button, please, so that this stream can benefit from the free likes. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Thank you. I'm very, very glad that everyone loves this intro. So I'm going to just keep it like it is. Maybe we're going to create a different intro for the altcoin streams. And then once the momentum comes back on Ecomi and Veve and so on, if we ever do something like drop streams or so, then maybe another one for that. But for this, for Crypto Morning Coffee, we'll definitely have the Binance intro, as it is so timeless. Now, let's jump into, so don't forget to smash the like and subscribe and so on, right? So let's jump into Bitcoin here. Bitcoin 4-hourly chart shows a little bit of a positive look on the, like here, a couple of 4-hour candles with a positive outlook. We're in general over the last days we're moving higher in some sort of channel. I think it's undeniable. What usually happens with such channels is that at some point rising channels have a very high likelihood to break to the downside. So that could be the case, but it doesn't have to. It's also, this channel leads into this overhead resistance, and if the news today are good and this resistance gets smashed, then we might flip it into support and continue from here. So that would obviously also be a likely scenario. And at this point I have to say, and you will see this in a second, we will bring the bearish and the bullish about the economy, right? I have to say that if you're looking for this, like this God channel, where the guy just tells you this is going to happen, and if it doesn't happen, he just the next day he predicts something else. That's not this channel, right? You want this channel where someone takes your hand and says this is going to happen, act accordingly. Nope, not going to. We're bringing the scenarios, the likelihood of the scenarios, and then we'll see what happens, right? Anyways, so today there is Chair Powell's speech on Jackson Hole. So this is an event where central bankers are meeting up and whatnot, right? So I think it's also international invites. So and at this event, Jerome Powell at 10 a.m. Eastern time, he will speak. So I think that is 4 p.m. Is it 4 p.m.? We can actually see it probably here, right? In this chart. Yeah, exactly. It's 4 p.m. CET. So that is when we can expect reactions out of the speech, because if he hints at something like 25 or 50 basis points rate cut in September, this will likely be having a bullish impact on the market, whereas if he doesn't talk at all about rate cuts and even is like, inflation, this and that, then it might be more bearish and we would see some red price action, right? For all the attention being paid to the presentation, the chances of it containing any startling news seems remote. It's not about the news though, like the news in itself. It's about little things, little nuances that hint at what is going to happen in about 26 days when the next FOMC meeting happens, where they decide on the next rate cut or on the next rate decision, whatever. So in previous years, Powell has used Jackson Hole's speech to outline broad policy initiatives and to provide clues about the future policy. So that is what we're expecting from this man here. This man has a very difficult job, because he has to save an unsavable disaster, right? So he has to manage, at least. Maybe he will at some point retire and someone else has to then continue the work. But he will also help to maintain what the life support on a failed system, right? So and this is where I think where all the crash profits don't really get the time, or they get it maybe, but they don't want to disclose it, the time horizon for big crashes, right? Because since 2008 and longer, the crash profits, they are predicting every year that the system is going to collapse, and it's going to be like 1929, Black Friday, hyperinflation, and so on. And there are some people that make a living off of it. They write books about the biggest crash of all times, and it will come. But it's the broken clock tactic, right? It would be like me sitting here every day and predicting that Bitcoin goes to 1 million, and in 20 years I will say, I told you so. I told you so. It will go to 1 million. I told you so. Now, the crash profits, once they hit the nail on the head, after telling every year that the crash will come exactly in that year, at 1 year there will be a crash, and then they are famous for saying that it was, right? So it's like the broken clock that is right twice a day when it shows 12. Anyways, so, and what they don't get, coming back to my point, is that you can just simply by printing some money, you can prolong the system, and sometimes it works for many, many years, and sometimes it doesn't. Yeah. So it really depends. But here, for example, we can print just a couple of trillion, and it will live for another, I don't know how many years. Now, this one caught my eye. It's also why Janet Yellen is on the page here, and that is from the Institute for Energy Research. They put out, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen has stated that the global energy transition will cost 78 trillion through 2050, or it needs $3 trillion a year, of which the United States should spend 1 trillion per year. Okay, so I don't know if Yellen looked at the bills recently, but if the US wants to spend 1 trillion per year on that energy transition, then they need to print some serious money, right? So 3 trillion a year, US should spend 1 trillion. That's some money printing that goes into the world economy, right? And since we're looking at global economy, it doesn't really global liquidity from the economies, it doesn't really matter where it comes from. So what you see here is that over the next 26 years, 25 years actually, if we consider this year to be almost gone, we'll have 78 trillion just spent on this. Can you imagine? It will not come all out of like productive labor, right? People paying taxes, and then 78 trillion suddenly is on the table, right? I mean, they will make every one of us pay for this energy transition, right? But they will also unleash the Kraken. They will unleash the printer to make it happen, right? And they will have to, because there's no, let's say, not 2050, maybe we have to make a bigger arc here. So I would say from today to the next 2 to 3 years, spending 1 trillion has to come out of the money printer, because GDP growth will not make it. But until 2050, maybe even a lot can come out of GDP growth, just considering the newest advancements of technology, right? So AI giving a brain, robotics giving the body. So with that, you basically have, as Raoul Paul says, infinite humans that also can work and don't have to sleep, don't go on vacation, they don't pee, they don't call in sick, right? That could be a game changer in terms of GDP growth and what we have, right? So all that stuff like robots that are integrated to 3D printing technology in the robot hand or whatever, right? Robots that package, robots that refill stocks in supermarkets, robots that mow your lawn. Oh, right, that already exists, right? But you see that this is just one of the advancements, and I really love to. So just recently, I came to. Internet humans don't fart, exactly. So if we could have, that is actually true. So if we could have some robots just shutting up and buying some Veve collectibles, like every robot needs a Veve collectible, then it would be a whole another world, right? Kid Arcade is completely right. But anyways, so let's just think this a little bit longer. So you could also use these robots with this infinite, with this AI, with this intelligence, but in extreme conditions, you also can steer these robots. For example, let's say you have something like where you cannot enter, but you can send a robot, and then with virtual reality or with augmented reality or whatever, you can also steer this robot. Now, what I'm thinking of is, you remember that when SpaceX started the tests with the what is it called? Is it the Starliner? It's not Starliner, right? It's Star something, like the big fat rocket. By the way, did you know that Elon Musk wanted to call the Falcon rocket, the bigger one, the big fucking rocket. Anyways, the biggest rocket that he's testing right now, it can carry 120 human beings. So everyone is like, oh, who wants to travel to Mars? Like, he wants to carry 120 people to Mars. But with what I said before, like, couldn't it be that he wants to carry 120 robots per rocket to Mars, and then you use like these goggles and something like that to help these robots to build a whole infrastructure? Then once you put the humans in, you can bring all the humans to Mars, and there is already buildings and oxygen and plantations and roads and I don't know what, right? And also, yes, it's completely true. Energy says this system is 2050 long gone. Very likely. We are thinking, it's actually very true. Energy says it's long gone, and that might be actually true. We are thinking in X amount of dollars right now, so this is only a vehicle for the thought of what the equivalent of potential GDP would be in that sense, right? But 78 trillion. So let's say we are actually going to make life, or at least robotics, multiplanetary. Then the GDP, also the GDP function will go with infinite humans and infinite space by going to other planets and so on. They will, this growth function will be completely going through the roof, right? Also, Jasper Frank has a very good point. Sex robots will be huge dollars. That is true. I think like this might be, and also it might be putting a even bigger challenge on our reproduction problem in the world, because everyone is talking about overpopulation. That is true in some parts of the world, but if you look at the entire Western civilization, we have a demographic problem that goes the other direction, where a lot of people will be in retirement and not many people to sustain them. So there will be, in 10-20 years, China, US, Europe, they all will have a huge problem in terms of workforce. And then we will see what's going to happen. But I'm not going to sit here and predict the crash, because if the Western world just replaces this workforce with robots, then nothing happens. Anyways, now this all is bullish, like the trillions and so on. But on the other hand, there are voices, and it's fair to say there are voices that say recession is closing in. This won't end well, and this is basically an unemployment rate function, where you say, so on the monthly by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, that basically has this 36-month SMA on the labor. And every time that unemployment ticks up and crosses this SMA, you're basically starting to go into a recession, right? So we see this right now here, that we are exactly at this crossing point. So every time that this happened, and this unemployment is like C-19 crisis, lockdown, people losing their jobs and so on, but quickly reinstated. Here, for example, also we had this type of unemployment rise up, and we went into recession. This is the Lehman Brothers situation. And then also here, this is the dot-com bubble situation, also recession, right? And we had a very, very super slight recession, but then direct extensive money printing to get rid of it. So the question is, what will happen now? Will this just continue with the unemployment? But technically we are in a recession right now. It's just not marked as a recession. Okay. My personal theory is, or my personal thought is, that we are in a recession since a long time. Because you remember, like, I think last year or even 1.5 years ago, it was when all this, like, the inflation is transitory talks, there was a rule that if you print 2 quarters back to back of negative GDP growth, then you're in a recession. And then they got rid of this rule because it would not apply anymore and whatnot, right? But technically, if you apply this rule, then that was already a recession. And basically we were in it until right now. So maybe, and you also see this here, like maybe we are already in it since a longer time, and it's just like the uptick here, and it's just maybe we're already closer to over. Who knows, right? But that is recession. And also here we see when unemployment rate goes up, usually you have like a crashy scenario, right? So now, here we have this: unemployment goes up, crash, right? Unemployment goes up, crash. Here also unemployment is ticking up, but we really don't have the crash, right? So it could be happening. It could be happening, so be aware of that. And here in this one, we we basically see it on a longer term. So unemployment goes up, crash, unemployment goes up, crash, unemployment rising, question mark, right? Here unemployment goes up 30%. Here it goes up 30%. But also it's a temporary downside, right? But usually what you want is that unemployment goes down because the economy does well, and so on and so on. And it doesn't feel like that. That is quite the truth. And on the other side, we have the total debt. Look at this debt growth, how it works. So you basically can see it since 1800 to basically here in 1972, when they depegged dollar from gold. There was basically the US debt in 220 years went only from 70 million to 1 trillion until this point, somewhere here where it got depegged. And now it made the hockey stick. Like, the hockey stick is everywhere, but when governments don't want to talk about hockey stick in terms of debt, right? So this needs to be serviced in some way, and it can only be serviced in one way, and that is extensive money printing. No, in two ways: extensive money printing, GDP growth. So global liquidity has to go up just because of the money printing. Crash 2026 income, maybe. I mean, Bitcoin for sure, because if we are in a bull market right now, which we are, then at some point the bull market will be over, and then yes, probably in 2026 it will be over. But before that, we have all the euphoria and the super cycle and whatnot, and we still have time also for a crash, right? I mean, we technically have 2 months time for a crash, then the election, then some things will change, new narratives will be born depending on who wins and so on, right? Green Lantern GM Freaking Friday hit it, absolutely. Troy Paris says, I hope it's after 2025, absolutely, or before or now, right? Or now, before, like, if there's a crash, or now, I mean, it would suck, but on the other hand, would be another big fat buying opportunity before the liquidity expands, right? What would really suck is if it is in the middle of a run and it ends the bull market prematurely once again, right? But we never know. We just go with the flow. But what is for sure, and this is something that you always have to consider, the crash experts are mostly whatever content creators on Twitter and YouTube, right? Which want to make some money. But it's not that Larry Fink is here and says, oh, I think everything's going to crash, right? No. The BlackRock and like the Bitcoin ETFs in general, the institutions that are using them, they are buying. Why would they buy risk on assets at the moment if they believe that the economy is going into a recession and the stock markets will fall 50% and crypto maybe 70% and so on? Why would they buy now if they have certainty that this is going to happen? They also don't know, and they have other financial tools. Ray Dalio at some point, he said, if you're trading, you're competing with me, and I spend hundreds of millions per year in just tools to predict the economy and to microtransact and whatnot, right? He basically said that he's spending millions and millions and hundreds of millions on predicting stuff, and he even doesn't know what is going to happen. Otherwise, he would act accordingly. On the other side, you have people like Warren Buffett that sit in cash like never before, as they're expecting the economy to crash. And actually, when Buffett sold some Apple, like half of his Apple position, people were fearful that he knows something about the crash. But then no one talked about that after that. He also allocated some money into some other stocks, right? He is repositioning his portfolio because Apple just grew too much. Okay, so basically Apple and the other tech stocks, they are the large caps that move before the rest, right? So we will see. Some other bullish news here. So Japan news basically. Sony Block Solutions Labs has unveiled the development of Sonium, an Ethereum layer 2 blockchain focused on mainstream adoption. This is funny always because like the whole point of blockchains and so on is that it's not centralized, because otherwise you can just have big centralized servers and it's just the same, almost the same at least. So the decentralized manner and transparency is actually the way. So we will see how this layer 2 looks. But also Hong Kong Bitcoin ETFs saw 15 millions of inflows. Binance, that was wrong. Binance, CEO Binance is out of prison, CZ. And the global adoption continues as Salvador offers Bitcoin education to 80,000 public servants. So they are also probably, if the government buys this, they also have enough education to see that there is an opportunity for them. Green Lantern says BlackRock is not buying, they are making their clients buy. Correct. But in the sense, I would say that is correct. I also said this in another stream. Everyone is always saying, oh, while you are fearful, Fidelity is buying or ARK Invest is buying. That is wrong. They're only offering the financial instrument, and the wealthy investor, the institution and whatnot, they are buying through the ETFs, right? But in the term of BlackRock, it's a little bit different, because in BlackRock it's also the institutions that are buying through BlackRock, and BlackRock offers the vehicle. But when the institutions are selling, BlackRock doesn't have outflows, and in that moment BlackRock technically is buying, because the other ETFs, when the institutions or whoever is selling some ETF shares, that ETF is also selling Bitcoin into the market, putting sell pressure on the market. But whenever there is on BlackRock people selling, BlackRock doesn't release a single Satoshi. So they are just piling it up because they know it's worth much more later. So they are just keeping it. And then probably when people are buying shares, they don't have to buy it expensive from the market. So this is an interesting strategy, because it seems that BlackRock is the only ETF provider that is following this strategy. So technically, whenever this happens, at that moment where people sell shares, BlackRock in that moment is buying the Bitcoin to not release it into the market. So yeah, and also we're kind of underperforming at the moment, only slightly. So I think if there is not something like a black swan, something horribly going wrong, then we should see more upside in the next in the next 80 days or so, right? I mean, you see, this is like here, this is 50 days after the halving, this is 100 days. Now we are at 120 something days, and here's 150 days. So over the next 80 days, we should see some upside here and not just creep around. So this, and what could drive? This is the biggest question. What could drive us to go up here? I mean, here it was more like, some institutions might buy, and they topped out with Tesla buying Bitcoin and so on, right? This was the cycle. In the other cycle, it was not even that. It was simple application of Bitcoin and so on. In this cycle, I think the main driver is just the uncertainty around fiat currency, global liquidity expansion, The US elections always have an impact. They are mostly here. Here's the election impact, right? Somewhere here will be the elections, so right in time to spark a run. And in this case, I would say the US elections, in this case, they are the most powerful catalyst this time, just because Bitcoin and crypto has become a narrative for election. And depending on who wins, this run will look differently, right? And you all know that Donald Trump needs to win for all this good stuff. The US will establish a strategic reserve, and maybe. So let's just say Donald Trump wins, and the US establishes this strategic reserve. Then this might be once they do it, like a year into it or something, that might mark the top. That might actually mark the top of Bitcoin then, right? Booth says, how much liquidity do you think will flow into blockchain gaming metaverse, and more importantly, how much to flow into Omi? How much? That is very different. That is very difficult to say. I would say, so let's say Bitcoin does a 4x. Let's just say Bitcoin does a 4x from here. It would be $4 trillion market cap for Bitcoin. And then let's say the Bitcoin dominance stays around 60%. Which means then that the rest of the market has like 2.5 to 3 trillion. That would then be on all altcoins, and that, let me pull it up, that on all altcoins. So we are sitting at 200 billion. So if we go to 2 to 2.5 trillion, it would be a 10x out of the altcoin market, right? The altcoin market would look like this, and we would go, yeah. So it would be 2.5 trillion. It would be a 12x out of the altcoin market. Actually, that's not the altcoin market. That's the others chart. So actually, we have to. This is wrong. We have to look at total. I think total 2 crypto markets. So for the altcoins, yeah, excluding BTC. So this is excluding BTC. So that's 900. Okay, so actually, going to 2 trillion would only be a 2.5x. That would be actually super flat, because Ethereum is so big, right? So yeah, that would only be like a 2.5x. Okay, so but just considering that, obviously that would mean like Ethereum does a 5x or something like that. Some coins underperform, other coins do the usual 10, 20, 50x. But if that kind of money flows in, let's just say Ecomi 10x's from here in a first move, just because, without too much news. So Ecomi goes 10x. There you go. That would be 10x. It wouldn't even reach like this overhead resistance, right? So let's say blockchain gaming starts hard, go really hard, which could be a case, because look at that. For example, here, like the Avalanche is getting grayscale trust for Avalanche. So Avalanche has big news like AAA game, PlayStation launching on Avalanche and so on. So the gaming narrative is definitely alive. It's definitely alive. So how will Metaverse benefit? Now we have the Apple glasses. So if there is much liquidity coming into the market, people start having money again, people will buy this stuff, and maybe then there's something coming from it. But you really need this chain of gaming to NFTs. Then probably first, I could imagine that first, like the focus on NFT comes back when altcoins have already pumped like crazy, and then Omi will be a very late mover, because Omi would then, because of these mechanics, depend on the NFT hype, right? So that could be happening. Yeah, so how much would flow into it? I don't know, to be honest. I don't know. PH, you should buy more OMI NFA. Yeah, NFA for everyone. I mean, look, the thing is, and we're coming to the Ecomi news now anyways, right? The thing with Ecomi for me is, I fundamentally, many things have changed, right? From when I bought it and when I started making videos about it and where we are right now. So for example, OMI utility program in different tiers. Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3. Tier 2 giving you option to rent out your collectibles if you stake your OMI, if you break your OMI free, 15% burn or whatever, right? On each transaction in Ecomi, massive OMI burn, right? The underlying wallets and so on. It's all gone. Everything that I said, gone. Done in a different way. But all these perks, like perks inside of Veve, they're not dependent on Ecomi anymore, right? So if you burn collectibles, now in a burn event, in a crafting event or so. But before, for example, being able to burn your collectible, even for MCP, was supposed to be driven by having X amount of OMI locked away, right? So many things have changed, right? So now I want to see first the implementation of how it will be, and then I want to see how this can develop. And also me waiting with buying was not a bad move. It was not at all a bad move, right? So we will see. It was not a bad move at all. That's a 4-hourly chart, doesn't matter. So here we see that there is kind of some action here now, some undecided, a lot of movement to the upside, right? The price tries to go up, long wicks on the upside, but gets sold into. There are still wallets selling. I saw a tweet from Omi Watcher before that said there's still like a whale wallet that is selling that has 7 billion in it or something like that. So it's still this dilution going on. So yeah, Stacker working with new exchanges and without any new exchanges. What do you mean, like with new exchanges and without any new exchanges? How do you see both scenarios? How do you see both scenarios play out? Again, in both scenarios, Stacker is working, doing what it's meant to do. Stacker working would put it deflationary, and there is enough exchanges to buy Ecomi, right? We have seen it many times, you don't need many exchanges to have a token pump some, but getting exchanges in a bull market leads to a pump, right? In any way. So, Stacker working with new exchanges, so we say we have deflationary action. I think it would. So that would cause the reversal in general, maybe leads to a couple of X's, right, out of Ecomi. If we get though the exchanges like Stacker working with new exchanges like Kraken, Coinbase, getting on all of these also these new DEXs and so on, right? Jupiter, Orca, whatever, right? That is a DEX, right? I'm not even sure. I'm not sure, but I think Jupiter Swap or something like that. Getting on also bringing Ecomi pairs on all of these like Pancake Swap and Sushi Swap and whatnot should also be a thing, right? But I think that then it will do very well if we get the exchange. I think the exchanges, as written here, are one of the big catalysts. So again, I think what Veve team is responsible for is to get a new roadmap out, so that new token investors can see this is planned for this cycle. Then exchanges where you as citizens actually can buy, because most of the crypto volume comes from the US. And also cater to Web3 community, right? So I think that is on the responsibility of Veve. And then on the Stacker side, we have the OMI to NFT and the burns, right? So I've split this list of what we need. So, and on the burns, we need to find we need to find, they need to be big enough to create like, to have calculations on when will Ecomi be depleted, right? So it cannot be that from the action on Stacker, if you make the calculations like in 150 years it will be depleted, so no one will care. But if you look at a scenario where so much OMI gets burned at low prices, that it actually has an impact. So Booth says, I'm guessing it's too much to hope for a 1 cent OMI price or above this bull. I think 1 cent is possible. I think 1 cent, like go back to previous all-time high is technically possible, but it requires a lot of this to happen, right? It requires a lot of this to happen. So here's some interesting information from this Shalini Lear. I don't know how this is, yeah. Anyways, towards the team of Stacker and the team of Ecomi and Foster and so on, right? So I have a question regarding OMI to NFT burning. Why are the OMI tokens collected from the 2% fee on each transaction during this beta testing being stored in a wallet instead of being sent to the burn address, right? Very valid question, very interesting also. And then he says, my understanding is that due to the regulatory uncertainty, the tokens being collected and stored in his wallet instead of being burned will permanently remain in the wallet and will never re-enter circulation. Is that correct? Could you please clarify this? I haven't been able to find more information. Okay, so here Foster comes in and says, tokens will be removed on L1 and not on base L2. For beta, we want to make sure the tokens are recoverable, as last thing anyone wants is to do a test transaction and have the entire amount deducted and burned without recourse. Actually, that's what we want. We want a mistake where billions get burned. Anyways, but yeah, users don't want to have fun. So basically what they do, they transact on base, but they take it from layer 1, so from the Ethereum, and then roll it into the burn wallet, right? But the baby steps, like baby steps, I agree, but we need also to come out of the infancy stage at some point. But obviously for Stacker, it has just started, right? So it's also why we aren't tracking it. Okay, fine. Let's see. When OMI to NFTs rolled out, will the 2% be sent immediately to the L1 burn address in real time with every single transaction made in the market, or will it be collected in a wallet and burned in a single transaction like once a week? So Foster says here, I'm not 100% on the actual flow as I'm not a dev, but once we get through beta, I'll make sure more info is put out. Now, this is, you need to know, at some point you need to know this stuff, because this is obviously how this also will be tracked, reported, and so on, right? So, if a user buys a collectible worth like $2 or less, sometimes the base to Ethereum gas fee could be higher than 2%, is why I'm curious, blah, blah. Yeah, I highly doubt it would be done on every transaction for this exact reason. I'm just not sure if it will be a time, amount, or both threshold that completes it. They don't give me the keys to those wallets. That's all I know for sure. So I think Foster needs to dig into the stuff, because I think that is crucial. How the burns will be done, but once the burns are executed, we will see daily burns to the actual burn wallet, to the actual L1 burn wallet. So I think that is the reason why we have a separate wallet at the moment. As he said here, for testing purposes, it will not be all the time. And then I think, so first of all, I had another one. I had this one from Keval here, because Keval is giving his opinion, right? $1 OMI burns. Oh my God, we're all about to be rich. So making fun of the current burns on the Stacker testing. So Stacker market sales are tested with like small transactions. So we see here the burns 2,000 Omi, the fees 8,000 Omi, and the volume 123,000 Omi, which is only $52, right? Also shows you how much Omi you get for a small dollar amount. And there are some 14 beta tester wallets on the Omi thing. So obviously, it's a little bit weird to now come out and lash against this, because actually this is like, I mean, it's a fucking beta, and it's not even going to the real burn wallet just yet. I mean, there are real burns. They said they will send all of this to the burn wallet apparently. Before they said that. But making fun of this now is just, it's too early, right? Yeah, Cavell is, I don't know what's happening. So I remember when Cavell called everyone stupid because they don't believe in the $300 trillion NFT industry, where the whole real estate market is on NFTs and so on. That was his position before, where he said that he made videos about the $10 OMI. And then he even made, when other people started to make videos about the $10 OMI, he made videos about $100 OMI, right? So now we are at a fraction of a cent OMI, and he has turned like 180%, right? So yeah, anyways, it's funny. On the other side, though, I also give a lot of credit to Cavell for helping my channel to grow, as he covered some of my videos with his with his unique style of reacting to videos. So that I credit where credit is due. But okay, so we have another one here from My Collectibles. A little rant here from My Collectibles, actually. So it seems that the FUD is getting to them. So listen to this. So back home from my holiday, and apparently Veve, NFTs, and digital collectibles collecting is in general is once again dead. So how many times will these comments reappear over the next 5 years? A lot. And actually, yeah, that's true. Like, there are people that literally have made it the focus and content of their lives to FUD Ecomi and Veve. And so really, literally, there are people, when I tweet, they are there every single time. And I know them all by name, so they got that. I know them all by name now, by their Twitter name, because I already know who is in that FUD army. There are even people that called themselves, like they have the Twitter handle FUD820 or FUD Lord. And obviously the reason why is because they sold, and now what would be horrible for them is if the collectibles come back and they are not in it, they would have fumbled. They are fearful that they would have fumbled a big opportunity, right? So they don't want this opportunity to even appear or happen, right? So that is why some people are just making it their life's work to FUD Ecomi. Yeah, they even have FUD spaces, and I'm not talking about like these guys here that raise legitimate concerns. They ask questions how it will be done. I don't even talk about all the people that are negative but have like constructive criticism in it. Like, there are a lot of people that put good criticism out that also probably help the team to understand some things. But there are also fudders that are like under every comment, and it's like, oh, it's going to zero, and trying to discourage people from the actual Veve, right? So this is obviously, if you are one of them, you should really rethink what you're doing with your life, because it's like it's like the guy that is bragging under my channel about every trade that he takes. And bragging about eating caviar and I don't know, flying first class and so on. It's super funny, because if I would make millions off of trades, I wouldn't go to a YouTuber with 4,500, not even 4,500 subs, and brag about my millions that I make. So it's super funny. There are so many people with certain disorders in the space. On the bull side and on the bear side also. Yeah, But let's see. Building isn't pretty, it's ugly at times. Hard work and 100% for the visionaries that see the future potential and are willing to do what it takes to get there. Very, very motivational. It's like build back better. Anyways, the Veve team is working 24/7, so they have robots apparently. They're working for 24/7 and all the time. Veve will never be done. It will always be evolving together. So this is cool, right? I mean, there's a lot of passion in this tweet. And now the big examples, like stuff that we are saying on YouTube like since a long time. 1903, the horse is here to stay, but the automobile is only a novelty, a fad. Yeah, we see how that turned out. So there are some people that are still riding a horse instead of getting their Lambo. Television won't be able to hold on to any market it captures after the first 6 months, was published apparently in 46. Then 1981, cellular phones will absolutely not replace local wire systems. And then 95, I predict the internet will soon go spectacularly supernova and in 96 catastrophic collapse. Actually, this person was ahead of its time. The collapse was in 2001 or so, .com bubble. And then in 2020, stay away from it. It's a mirage, basically. In terms of cryptocurrencies, generally, I can say almost with certainty that they will come to a bad ending, which is true for a lot of altcoins. But in general, cryptocurrency is here to stay. It is one of the most important advancements in the layer of internet and technology. And he closes with just keep building. So obviously, not every technological trend has survived, but on the biggest forefront of our technological advancements, those who built and believed, they were always basically treated by fathers as idiots. Be it the internet, be it the car, be it the smartphone or the wireless phone. Also, like data streaming came up, destroyed a whole industry of outdated technology, and we already see like very valid use cases for NFTs and for blockchain. So, for example, look at AI. It will not take long until AI can fake everything, right? So you need immutable certificate on-chain available everywhere, which is blockchain, which is certificates via NFT. So the NFTs will be here to stay, right? Let's see the chat a little bit. Felipe B. Yeah, Cavell started videos in which he said he can see the vision and he has no problem with holding a coin like Omi for 10 years. Yeah, I remember. He was like, I am here for 10 years and so on, or longer. Same person after 6 months saying he's out is so funny. Yeah, exactly. And he will be back once and if Omi pumps, right? Depends on the execution, as we said, but he will be back. So obviously I give credit to, I mean, I say this myself, and here I have to protect Cavell a little bit, because the fundamentals, everything that he based his opinion on, they have changed, right? The tokenomics, the pumpermentals, they have changed. But he also said he believes in the team no matter what, like in David Yu and so on. He said that many times, that he believes in this team, and that team has not really changed since then. I mean, there are new people and so on. No matter what happens, Cavell will say he was right. Yeah, exactly. He has both opinions. Now he can. He's safe. He's safe, so to say. He has secured himself. Yeah. But also, I give him that. I mean, if you look at Omi Utility Program initial stages, if you look that up, I don't know if it's still around, but in my older videos, we made so many videos about how the tokenomics would look like, how the flow decreases, when it will deplete, how much OMI gets burned if a certain token price gets reached, and so on. That all has been renewed now, right? Booth says, once OMI pumps, he's gonna say he was a believer all along. Yeah, exactly. He can't say that anymore because I think too much. He has not only said he doesn't believe anymore. He also actively fudded the token. So yeah, Lorenzo Quesada just subscribed. Welcome to the fam. Welcome to the channel. Yeah. So this is a very passionate post. Let's see some comments also. The problem is that Veve has not made any changes over 3 years. The VR AR function work at a very low level. The app is unstable and has many bugs. All development is new IP and new drops. Many promises, no deliveries. That's why people lost hope in Veve when real updates. I think this is only partially true because there are many changes in 3 years. So I think this is not fair to say. Also, like, look at the Veve Comics, for example. It's a huge update to the app, like that you have your own Marvel-driven comic store, Marvel comic site, where it's just money printer for these companies. Then also they have like refined a lot of things in the app with regards to the market. They have restructured. So this is not true. But on the other hand, it is something that is really getting on my nerves also in the app is when I want to look in the search bar for a comic, I have to go into the collectible site, then hope that there is at least one collectible that also has this name, and then switch to comics to go show all results, and then switch to comics to see. For example, Miles Morales, I can look for the comic because there is a Miles Morales collectible. But if you go on the comic tab first, you type in the collectible name, it doesn't react in the app, right? I cannot search for the comics. So that is a really big problem because I want to buy specific comics. I don't want to browse the market for on the search for whatever shit, right? I want to search for one specific comic and then look into that comic. That is one problem. The other problem is that when I'm browsing the market and I'm clicking a collectible, it's loading. I have to go out, go in again, it's loading, go out, go in again, and then it loads, right? And sometimes it loads instantly, sometimes it takes 10 seconds, sometimes it's just loading and not showing results. And also what happens is, I should probably post a list of this, and not meant as FUD, but as genuine improvement that disturb my experience with the app. And that is, for example, I browse the comics in my own collection. And I have a lot of them. After I reach the rares or so, right? I have the secret rares and the ultra rares. After I reach a certain point in the app crashes and I have to start all over again. Or for example, you want to check out your vault value. You check out the vault value, you go back in, the vault value disappeared, right? This is only like 4 examples of bugs that just suck, right? So I give credit to a part of this thing. Like, there's a lot of bugs, and I would support that there are a lot of bugs, right? Yeah, Cavell fed into the FUD. Let it consume. Cavell's main problem is his giant ego. Yeah, we saw that. Now he calls the team incompetent, but before he said like this is like the biggest visionaries he's ever seen and whatnot. So yeah, no changes in 3 years. Veve has completely changed and evolved into the time period just over. This is the problem. Like, the criticism doesn't go in the correct direction, right? Because this guy is basically criticizing the Veve app. Not the web app, not the rest, right? But under the name of like all Veve. Yeah, the drop mechanics are improved, right? The waitlist system, they have brought MCP, so all of that is very true. But I probably will make a tweet because I genuinely want to have these improvements so that I can enjoy and use the app more. Because sometimes I browse, the app shows one of these problems, I'm instantly annoyed by it, and I close it again, right? Yeah. He had a lot of good motivational content, also reaction content, the Cavell. I give him that also. So here we also see another comment. There is 1000% future potential, but some things need attention. The mobile app, it needs to be updated with a major fix, not minor updates and bug fixes. Same thing with the web app. That is true. I see more in the mobile app. Stop the drops for some time. I definitely would not recommend this. You don't have to stop the drops. You just work on an update like a Veve app 2.0 in the back, and then you update it. You don't have to stop the drops. This is just bullshit. Or minimize them to app can be worked on. You don't have to work on a live app. This is not how development works. You work on a new version and then you do a rollout, right? This is in the back. And very likely they are doing this already. Like, there must be something. Like, they have reworked the web app. They probably will put out a major app update or something like that. I hope, at least, right? More community engagement as far as contests. They do a lot of like perks and so on. More AMAs, that's true. Like, we want AMAs back, I think. But in another form, maybe like you actually have something, you do an AMA, you present it, and then you just go away. Like, you walk away and you go back to building, right? Educational workshops, more collaborations, yes, for sure. There seems to be a hierarchy, and that's not what a community should be. Oh yeah, exactly. That is also true. I'm sure there's more, much more I could dive into, but hopefully you can get that. And I would say, this is the perfect example of constructive criticism, right? He says that something sucks, but he also sees potential. I don't see why. So this is not FUD, right? So yeah, great response and so on. He gets a lot of credit for that. Then also we have one from Crypto Bro here. I believe it's the value proposition of NFTs that is problematic and will remain so even if NFTs become popular again. It's funny because no one had these concerns in the bull market, whereas in the bear market everyone suddenly talks about the value proposition of crypto projects, of NFTs and so on. Listen, the value proposition. What is the value proposition of meme coins, for example, right? Like, meme coins don't have a value proposition and they go completely ballistic, right? Whereas here, the value proposition is very clear, for example, for comics. Like, I can have 600 comics on the phone and I don't clutter up my my whole attic, whatever, right? Also, they cannot get destroyed by a fire or something like that. And I don't have to worry if my CGC 9.8 that I just bought off of eBay is actually a counterfeit, right? I can just have the secret rare on my phone. So genuinely, the value proposition for me, and it's also the reason why I have this Veve comics, I like collecting them for the cover design. I don't even fucking read them. There are people that read them, but I don't. But I wouldn't buy them physically because I think it's way more comfortable and they're officially licensed and they're nowhere else. So why shouldn't I, right? So I think that's a good value proposition for the Veve NFTs. One of the main value propositions that contributed to success and high prices of Veve NFTs was provenance, in my opinion. So he's referring to, blockchain and so on. People wanted to own the first appearance of Batman, Spider-Man on the blockchain because that holds value from collector perspective. Unfortunately, as we now know, the technology behind Veve NFTs, roll-up tech, doesn't store metadata about the digital collectible on the blockchain. That is true. But it stores the metadata in database and the ownership on blockchain, which kind of goes into the same direction. And also, here, the biggest argument against this whole like the metadata on the blockchain is, if you do that, then you have also a hierarchy within the drop. Like the first collectible that gets minted on the blockchain is then the only first appearance, and all the other 7,000 thoughts are not, right? This means Veve NFTs will never have a historical provenance recorded on the blockchain. I mean, yes and no. I think it's already difficult. I think the ownership, like, I think it needs to be different, right? So the ownership must be transparent. And also, when it was, so the minting date should be somewhere, which is, so I see the problem here, right? Don't get me wrong, I see the problem here. But I think that as long as the ownership history is on L1, which it is, like the switch of owners and so on, it also shows when a certain collectible got traded and when it started trading, and it refers back to the metadata stored in immutable X, right? They already migrated from their original, I think it was on the Go chain, from Go chain, right? So then already with this migration, if you have a token migration, you already lose this basically, right? You would lose this also if all tokens were minted on a specific chain. So let's say Flow, and the chain goes out of business, is halted, doesn't move anymore. You move to another chain, all the tokens get reminted, and you lose the first appearance, right? So yeah, I don't know. So here someone also says, my understanding is that the token is on-chain and the metadata is stored off-chain. That is not entirely true. The token is not on-chain. It's only the proof of ownership. Only the transaction data is verified on-chain. So you see here also he says it. Simply put, only the transaction data is verified on-chain. That's how they classify it as an NFT, because it's verified by blockchain. That's cool and all, but when it comes to digital collectibles, it's not so cool. This because there is no real verifiable record of their existence on the blockchain. That is basically the problem of the blockchain maxi. And I think this discussion will go on until the bull run. Then no one cares, and then the discussion will continue after the bull run, right? So yeah, exactly. Jasper, like Jasper says, it won't be important to the masses. I agree. It will be important to some blockchain maxis. In the sense of only everything verified on blockchain. But if you spin this more towards like this same argument from Crypto Bro, you could say, okay, let's put the whole token with metadata on blockchain, but it still refers to the graphic model on a server. So technically, the graphic model and the entire content that is licensed collectible by Marvel, for example, is still not on the token, is still not on the blockchain. Right? You only have the token, like the token that points towards the graphic content of this collectible. So in terms of digital collectible, you still don't have it on the blockchain, because all that, like the graphic model, the data, the animation, the sound, everything of that is stored in Amazon Web Service, in Amazon Cloud. And the token, basic, like the metadata, the everything that is saved on Immutable points to that. It's like this metadata belongs to this graphic model. So technically, if that Amazon thing would go EMP busted, it wouldn't show anymore, right? So then you have a token on chain that says Marvel first, I don't know what, but that's it, right? So you can basically, what Veve has is this minimalistic version. Then you have that what Crypto Bro suggests with all the token, and then you have all the content on chain. And there are very few NFTs where all the content is on chain. CryptoPunks, EtherRock. I think Bored Apes already. They are not. I'm not sure if Bored Apes if the whole picture is on chain. I'm not so sure. Marty says, if you're using the app to search for comics, you put the name Miles Morales and hit return. They will all show up under the comic tab. What do you mean by hit return? It's funny, no one watches Cavell's videos unless it's only Veve related. Yeah, exactly. But this is a bigger problem with YouTube in general, because YouTube, it analyzes what type of content you put out. And if you put out something else, it doesn't understand that it needs to address a new crowd. So if Cavell wants to get more engagement with other videos, he needs to do a lot of other videos, right? To do that. So for example, in my case, I do stuff on crypto and altcoins and also Ecomi and Veve, but since I do it all the time, I get, like, if I put out a VeChain video, it works, right? It's just getting to the masses. The masses, right? I mean, mass adoption on my channel is very high. We will see in the bull run. We will see the reality of what it can reach. NFT Hero says, but immutable is not immutable. That's why we need it on a blockchain, I think. Yes and no. So yes, immutable doesn't have their own blockchain, which means that all this data is not, like, all this metadata is not on chain. But even, it goes back to my argument, NFT Hero, even if you put the token on chain and then the token is immutable, all the content, which is actually why people buy it, is still immutable, is still mutable. We saw that before. You can just remodel. You can give it an animation. You can give it a new appearance. You can give it a new model, right? Technically they could replace the Electra by a new graphic model, which they shouldn't, because Electra is one of the biggest memes on Veve. Roman says, good morning, everyone. Energy says, funny, if we get in future all assets get tokenized, like your ownership of your car, the car will not be on the blockchain, just the token with the ownership. Exactly. Only but this, like the certificate, but this is not Veve. This is also not Veve, what Energy says, because then the token with all the data about the car is on the chain, right? But in the case of Veve, it would be only something like a certificate ID, and when it went, so let's say the certificate is on Google Drive, and on chain you only have the number of the certificate changing from owner A to B, and that says basically, look at this certificate, this went from A to B, but the certificate itself is not on the chain. That is the point of discussion. But I like your example, Energy. I like your example. When I say hit return, the return button is at the end of the in-app keyboard. Oh, okay, but that's keyboard. That's keyboard. I'm talking about. Ah, you mean on the okay, on the phone also. Yeah, on the phone. Okay, the return button. Yeah, okay, I will try that. Thank you for the hint. I think that he means hit enter. Return aging yourself. Type right head return. Yeah. NFT Hero says not, but the token is what is important, because the token is valuable. Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true. And this discussion will go on. My iPhone most definitely has returned. But here's the thing, NFT Hero, from a investment perspective, if millions of people would not care and come into Veve, then from an investment perspective, it doesn't matter. But from a collector's perspective, it matters, right? I give you that, yes. So what's the solution? If they now take everything with this metadata and mint, the token itself now would still be minted in 2024, even though the collectible was dropped in 2020, right? So is there a way back, or is it already, like, is there a way to get this done? Like, for example, can they all mint it on whatever, like a base layer or something like that? Or can they mint it on Solana, something like that? Actually, that would be the craziest thing, right? Let's say Veve moves all the collectibles on Solana, they would get like huge engagement, I think. Mark D says my iPhone most definitely has returned next to the space, but yeah, it does have. Sorry, I was just, it was a brain lag, right? I know what you mean. I will try it out. Some devices have return, some have enter. I think iPhone has both, right? Like you have both. Meta has AR tech on the way. I say mass adoption for digital collectible takes 10 years. That's when Veve will shine. I think with Veve you can also do well in the next bull run, just onboard more people. But anyways, guys, I have to jump. This one of the longest streams I have ever done in the morning. But the discussion is so interesting. So thank you all for participating and smash up the like button right now. Please, please, please. More than 30 people. I have not asked for likes the entire stream, so please, right now, please go out of full screen, smash the like as hard as you can, smash it, not twice, only once, smash the like button, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet, and wherever you are on the world, have a great morning, evening,